Hey everyone, how are we doing? Welcome to our very first webinar of our July sourcing series. Super excited to kick things off with our building reply-worthy outreach, of course, within sequences. I'm going to give it 30 extra seconds while we wait for people to roll in. While we're waiting, why don't we all pop in the chat where everyone's joining from? Would love to see how global this session is. Denver, New York, Oregon. Oh, nice. Very, very US. Oh, I'm seeing some Europe join. Barcelona. Nice. Toronto, India, Portugal. Cool. Nice. Well, awesome to have you all here. Let's kick things off. So my name's Elise. I lead training and education here at Metaview. Before that, I was a recruiter myself. So I was working across fast scaling tech companies, sending candidate outreach every single day. I've sent thousands of outreach messages, including some pretty terrible ones, which often just wouldn't get a response. I'm sure plenty of folks in the room can relate to that. But with a lot of investment into what actually makes good outreach, I figured out a formula that almost guarantees a reply a lot of the time. And so that's what we're going to talk about over the next 45 minutes. And I'm going to hand you the recipe. Before I start, I want everyone just to think of a role that you're actively recruiting. Think of an active role where you're trying to engage candidates and just hold that in your head throughout this webinar. Because everything we cover today, I want you to apply to that role. And then at the end of this session, we're going to build a real sequence for that role live alongside me. So I will share my screen. You can get Metaview up in the background and we will build it together. So when you leave today, you'll have something tangible that you can put straight onto your recs and start improving those reply rates. Everyone got their role. Nice. Some quick housekeeping. We are recording this session, so it will be shared back with everyone here. We've got plenty of resources to share throughout. So cheat sheets on how to craft the perfect messaging, a full prompt library for best-in-class prompting, which is what I'll be using along the way as well. So don't worry, after this, you'll have all the tools that you need to really stand out and ensure that you are getting your replies when it comes to outreach. And finally, we do have some of the Meta crew in the chat answering any questions as we go. So please ask away, get involved, and our team are here to support you live. Nice. So with that, let's jump in. And first, I'm curious to hear, what do you think the average response rate to a single cold outreach email is? This is the one single email across all industries. It's not recruiting specific. Throw your answers in the chat. I'm curious to hear what everyone thinks the average response rate to a single cold outreach is. 5%, 20%, 1%. Okay, someone's been burnt before. Nice. 5%. Okay, so some pretty low answers here. Okay, 10%. Nice. 12%. Okay, I haven't seen the answer yet, which is interesting. Okay, should we put you out of your misery? Let's reveal the answer. 3.4%. That is it. So like I said, this is across all industries. This isn't recruiting specific. But let's just sit with that for a second. That means that 97 out of 100 messages are getting ignored. Second question I have for you. What do you think for campaigns where we are running 4 or more touches, so multi-sequence outreach campaigns, what reply rates do you think they see? Throw your guesses in the chat. 12%, 45%, 20%, okay, 30%. So we're feeling like it's going to jump significantly. Oh, someone thinks it's going down, 1%. Okay, loving these guesses. I'm going to tell you right now, I haven't seen the correct answer yet. The real number will change how you think about outreach and how you spend your time. But I'm going to leave you on a cliffhanger. We're not going to reveal the answer just yet. We're going to come back to that in a few minutes. I want to focus in on this 3.4%. Why is a single cold outreach so low? Short answer is it's not because candidates hate you. It's because they're drowning. The best people are hearing from 12 plus recruiters a week. Their inbox has literally trained them to skim and archive. So that means that silence isn't a no, it's just become the default in this oversaturated market. And the shift that's made it so much worse, which we all know, is that AI has made volume free. Too many recruiters are opening ChatGPT, putting in the same prompt, sending the same 500 personalized emails that everyone else is sending, which means that the good old spray and pray model, which has never been effective, is now even more ineffective. So, how do we change this and how do we get ourselves noticed? What we need to do here is kind of reframe how we think about outreach and start thinking about outreach like sales. When we think of what a salesperson actually does, they convince a busy, skeptical person who's never heard from them to give up their time and to actually chat with them. That is literally what our role as a recruiter is when we're doing outbound. The difference here is sales has spent decades and millions of dollars of studying exactly this problem. So that's good news for us because it means that we don't need to reinvent anything. We just need to borrow what sales has already proved works. We drop some of the salesy bits, of course, that's not going to be relevant in a recruitment context. And then we ensure that it works for our world. So how do we actually do this? Everything I've just described comes down into three levers: the channel, the sequence, and the message. Now, when it comes to outreach, most people jump straight into the message. It makes sense, it's the fun part, it's the bit that actually gets you the reply. But you can write the most beautiful message in the world, and if nobody ever sees it, it really just doesn't matter. So we're going to flip the order of how we approach outreach and challenge that mindset a little bit. First, we're actually going to start with the channel. How do we get ourselves seen? The perfect message in a channel that the candidate ignores may as well just not exist. So the strategic question we should be asking ourselves isn't just where does my talent pool live, but it's where do they reply in the same place where they actually live? We have some interesting data that shows often it's actually not the same place. Then we look at lever number 2, which is the sequence. How do we get ourselves remembered? One email, even a brilliant one, as we saw, has very low proven response rates. So you're putting all of your effort into crafting a great message and then throwing it out just to see how it lands. To improve our chances of getting seen in a response, we need to be intentional. Now, I hear a lot recruiters say to me, but I don't want to be that person who's pestering, can't take no for an answer. I don't want to damage the brand. And these are very, very valid points. And this is where we're going to take the sales discipline, but we're going to drop the sales approach. Of course, our worlds are very different. We're dealing with far more personal topics, which is someone's career. But there is a way to make this land. And of course, that's what we'll dive into. And then finally, now that we've guaranteed that we have an audience, our message better be good. So how do we build hyper-personalized messages across 100 candidates without losing your entire week? There is a trick to that. And then I'm going to show you the prompts that we use to help you get there. And you might be sitting here thinking, at least this is so obvious. Message, sequence, channel. Sure. But here's the thing. I work with hundreds of teams on building strong outreach every day within Metaview, and almost nobody is really investing in all 3 channels equally. So if you can nail all 3 of these, you will already be miles ahead of the rest of the market and helping you get your reply rates up. So are we pumped? Let's jump into the first one. Level 1, the channel. Where does your talent actually reply? A quick myth to bust before we actually jump into the data, but the default assumption in recruiting is that outreach means LinkedIn. Candidates live on LinkedIn, so we must message them on LinkedIn. But the thing that almost nobody checks is there's a big difference between where talent lives and actually where they're more inclined to reply. LinkedIn is the most saturated recruiter channel on the planet. We all know this. And then when you add the layer of LinkedIn is also where a lot of work gets done, especially for go-to-market teams. You have a single channel that is being spammed across both work and now personal. I'm not sitting here saying that LinkedIn is a bad channel. Of course, we see reply rates on LinkedIn and it is a reliable channel for a lot of teams, but making it our only channel is just missing out. So as we start to actually look at some of the data, some of this is pulled from LinkedIn directly. But you can see across a number of different teams and channels, different reply rates across LinkedIn email. Starting with kind of recruiting and HR, LinkedIn is absolutely what works for them. We're seeing it's their habitat, it's their medium, it is where we will get the best reply rates. But as we start to look through different fields, maybe product, PMs are the top email responders at nearly 10%. Designers, similar. Marketers, even more extreme. They're strong on email and among the lowest on LinkedIn. And when you think about what marketers do in their day-to-day, their whole role is largely on LinkedIn. So their inbox is already a war zone from that day-to-day work aspect. So actually, we're sending a sharp email, we can be just jumping the queue straight away. Engineers, low everywhere. We know this is not new information. So for tech, signal and referrals are everything. A personal email naming a specific repo or project that they've shipped reads as real effort. Or if we're sending on behalf of another engineer or a leader to grab their attention, we're going to find our reply rates boost as well. Same goes for sales and go-to-market. And if we kind of look at the bottom, one of the most single underused levers in outreach is the ability to send a message on behalf of someone else. In Metaview, we see this data pretty loud and clear. Sequences sent on behalf of a hiring manager or a colleague pull out reply rates, will outdo reply rates that ones that are sent on behalf of a recruiter. And the biggest interesting thing here is that a lot of recruiters aren't even switching this on. About 22% of recruiters are actually sending messages on behalf of someone else. So it is one of the biggest levers that you can really hone into when you're starting to use sequences for your outreach in Metaview. Okay, so we've picked the right channel, great. Now the next problem, one message, again, as we said, even the perfect message still doesn't guarantee us a reply. So now let's talk about the sequence. And I want to go back to that question I asked earlier. What reply rate do campaigns with 4+ touches see? I was watching the chat. Guesses ranged about 15 to 20%, 25%. So let's actually reveal the answer. 27%. So this is an 8 times jump from a single cold outreach message. And this perfectly just shows the importance of an intentional thought out sequence. If we look over at the right, you'll also start to see the difference between a small low touch sequence versus a multi-step 4 to 7. And so you can see already that most people are actually quitting before we even get to step 4. But actually your chances of responses are really lifting as we start to move into that world. So if you're sitting there thinking, I'm not going to do multiple touches because I'll be the annoying recruiter, the cost of that mindset is 18 out of every 100 candidates who would have maybe replied to you, but never actually got the chance. So sequences increase your reply rates versus single email. Here's an example of what an intentional thought out sequence might actually look like. And this is ensuring that you're not left in that annoying, pestering recruiter territory. Here we have a 5-sequence breakdown. When you actually look at how this is broken down, we have 3 emails and 2 LinkedIn, spread across 2 weeks. So candidates actually won't really connect the dots that the recruiter in their email and that LinkedIn note is the same person. So what you're saying in your head is, I've contacted this person 5 times. The candidate could be experiencing something totally different because we're starting to engage multiple different channels. So that's the recipe, spacing our touches 2 to 5 business days apart. And the key is every touch needs to add something new of value. And then, of course, as soon as they reply, we auto stop sending them, we auto enroll them out of the sequence. So that reply could be something like, yes, I'm interested, or stop bothering me. Both responses are respected and we stop replying. And that is that difference between kind of sales and recruiting world. When we start to then break this down, touch 1, day 0, a signal-led email plus a LinkedIn connect. That connect does the quiet work to make your name familiar before touch 2. Touch 2, a short LinkedIn nudge, a new angle. The key is never just following up or, hey, bumping my last note, but how do we add something new of value to ensure that we're not just repeating and pestering in that same way? Touch 3, and I've highlighted this one for a reason because as we saw in the previous slide, this is where replies really start to increase, but most recruiters never actually get here. So how do we reframe with a fresh new insight? Touch 4, we're going in now with pure value, something useful. We're not asking anything here, we're just giving. And then that final step is a graceful close. This is where we're really respecting that brand, that relationship, making it really easy for the candidate to say, not now, and then we stop. So now look at what we've done. We've got the right channel and a disciplined sequence. You've almost guaranteed yourself the candidate is going to actually read what you wrote. So this is great news, but it also means our message better be good. And this is where AI becomes your superpower. Quick pulse check. Who has tried throwing a simple prompt into ChatGPT and got something pretty similar to what we're seeing on the screen? A very generic beige response. I'm curious, has anyone nailed their ChatGPT? Throw an emoji in the chat of how your ChatGPT writing ability is. Love this. Yeah, no one's super confident. Nice. Okay, some fires. Okay. Bro. To be fair, this is not a fault of ChatGPT, and it doesn't mean ChatGPT is bad at writing, but it just means that the AI is doing exactly what we asked it to. If I say, I'm reaching out to a candidate for this role, write me an outreach message, every recruiter is going to get the same message. The output can only be as specific as your prompt. So when we give it nothing, when we don't give it that context, it's actually just going to hand the blanks back to us. Bracket first name, bracket specific project. The personalization is our role as recruiters. And that is what is going to stand us apart from the rest. So how we do this is add that personalization to the prompt. Before we start looking at the prompts themselves, let's just look at what actually makes a message reply worthy. We've broken this down in a very easy way to remember, but first we're going to start with just relevance. Open on something specific that is real signal about that candidate. That could be a project they've shipped or a talk that they've given, a recent promotion, essentially just something that couldn't be sent to any other candidate. And it shows the candidate that this message has been written for them. Then we're going to start to speak their situation and their motivation, not speaking our own job spec. The candidate doesn't care that we have a role to fill. So we just need to think about how do we speak their language? Where are they now? Where do they probably want to go? And you can gauge this from their career history. And then how will this role help them get there? So really just speaking to them. Then the most important piece really is just telling them why we're talking to them. Give them an actual reason to care. And this can be really simple. It could be something like, we need someone who's grown AEs into enterprise reps and taken the team from 10 to 20 million. Your experience has done all three, and that's why I'm reaching out to you. It can be that simple, just really giving them that reason to care and to say, hey, this is why I'm tapping you on the shoulder directly. We then want to follow that with a light ask. And this should be one low friction step. Not here's my calendar here's my calendar link, book a time with me and putting the onus on them. What is something really light and easy that can make it really simple for the candidate to reply, sure. And then finally, how do we make it sound really human and keep it in your voice? Yes, we're going to use AI to help us build this at scale, but that doesn't mean that the message needs to sound like AI. When you personalize and add your own voice into your prompts, you will be amazed at the level of personalization that AI can generate for you. And that you factor really is the credibility layer. So take a screenshot of this, run this across every message that you send, but we'll also share this after. It is in the cheat sheets that you'll be getting. So we spoke about the importance of prompting. Let's actually talk about what does that look like? We can create prompts to write the whole email, or we can also create prompts into pieces. This is the benefit of sequences within Metaview. is you can prompt within static text and let them live side by side in the same message. So these are 3 real prompts from my prompt library that I'll be sharing out that I use for outreach myself. If we take a look at the opening line of the first one, I'm essentially just saying to it, write a casual opening sentence referencing this candidate's most recent role and what makes them a natural fit. Specific enough that it couldn't be sent to any other candidate. And then the key part that a lot of people miss is I'm now telling it what I don't want. And this is where my own voice starts to come in. I would never open an email with a poor greeting or flattery, or I came across your profile, or your experience caught my attention. I'm essentially banning any piece that's immediately going to make this email sound like I didn't write it. And then to contrast that, I'm now giving examples of what does sound like me. So say, something like they're a part of a club or community that aligns with my industry. Maybe they've executed a huge piece of work. This is how we take prompting from that AI slop that we saw in the slide previous to a genuinely personalized and impactful message. So then as we look across the next 2 buckets, it's the same idea. Anyone can build prompts in this shape and make it still sound like you. Like I've said, that personality really lives in your prompts. So this is how we're starting to build personal output at scale, and really bringing in your own voice into each of your prompting. Like I said, each of these prompts are in the prompt library that we'll be sharing, so don't worry about copying them down now. We will share them out at the end of the session, but of course, with the huge caveat of tweak them to make them sound like your voice. How do you usually open a sentence or a message? How do you usually close your sentence and messages? What are the angles that you usually dive into? So make this sound really like you. So as we take this, let's put this output side by side. On the left, we have our ChatGPT generic message. As we've probably all seen, it's generic, it's overused, it's about us. It gives the candidate 0 signal on why they should actually care and want to talk to me. This is that 3.4% energy that we spoke about at the start. So then as we look on the right, this is an email that's been built with those section prompts. And the difference is it names their previous role, it names a project that they've shipped, it connects it to exactly why we want them for this role. It reads like I've done an hour of research per candidate, but of course, I haven't done that. I've just been really intentional with the prompt that I'm building. So now every candidate gets that same level of intention automatically. And that is the power when we really start to invest in quality prompting. So, enough slides. There's your recipe. Let's now build one live together. We're going to drop in the chat the link to sign into Metaview. While we do that, I'm going to share my screen. Right. Hopefully this is good and everyone can see my screen now. We should be looking at the sequences page. Nice. I want to give it just a couple more seconds while we wait for people to sign into Metaview. But while everyone's clicking in, everything that we've covered today, so the multi-channel cadence, sending on behalf of someone else, prompt level personalizations, this is exactly what sequences was built to do. So none of this lives in a spreadsheet that you have to remember. We're about to build one together, and you can see really just how easy it is to build. Right. I think we've got the Metaview sequences in. If you haven't got a Metaview account yet, you can sign up. It's totally for free. Otherwise, we can jump in. Cool. So here is, how do I get that off? There we go. Some technical glitches. Here is my Metaview sequences page. You can see here I have a number of sequences that I've built, enrolled. I can see some data on how my sequences are performing. But here I'm going to actually just start to build a new sequence. So on the top right-hand corner, we're going to create one from scratch. And for this sequence, I'm going to engage our engagement manager role, so a CSM role. I'm going to title that CSM. And now we can start to build this out together. As we saw in the slide and the data that we shared, customer folks are more responsive to signal-led sending on behalf of emails. So that's what I'm going to do with this first step. I'm going to set this up as an automatic email, and I want this to be sent immediately as soon as I enroll a candidate into this step. But here, I'm actually going to send on behalf of the hiring manager. So Cam is our head of engagement. He has given me permission to send emails on his behalf within Metaview. So I'm going to make the from him. If I wanted to, I could CC or BCC myself, but actually I'm just going to track all the replies and the messages within Metaview itself. So here's my body. Now we can start building the message. This is where I'm going to jump over to our prompt library. The team are going to put this in the chat as well, so you can have access to what I'm seeing. But in our Metaview prompt library, you have a number of best-in-class prompts across all of our products. But if you scroll down to section 3, you will see where I'm sitting, which is within sequences. As we scroll down, I'm actually going to get AI to write the subject line for me as well. So I'm going to come and add in 3.1 subject lines that get opened. As simple as taking this prompt, I'm going to paste that into my subject line in Metaview, and now I'm going to get Metaview to help me write a subject line that is personal to this candidate. Now I'm going to start to build out the body of my actual email. So again, I'm going to make this how I write and make this in my voice. Hey, candidate name. I could add in like an opening line here if I wanted, but actually I'm going to head back to my prompt library, and I'm going to get Metaview to help me build out the opener as well. So our personalized opener, 3.2, I'm going to take this prompt block and I'm going to paste this in. Again, we want to skim over this. Don't send this blindly without adding your own pulse and your own touch. But here I'm going to add in some placeholders. So I'm going to specify they'll be great for a CSM at Metaview. You can see I have a lot of my own greeting, and this is what we were speaking about in the slides earlier. So this is where you might want to play around and really make this unique to you. But now I've got my opener. I'm going to now start to prompt for that value piece. So this is really that empathy and that purpose. Heading back, if I want to add in my personalized value prop, so 3.3, I'm going to take this prompt and I'm going to paste this into this email as well. Again, I'm going to keep honing in on the importance of personalizing these prompts, because that's what's going to make your email sound like it's from you and not from me. But I'm going to keep adding in my placeholders. So again, a CSM at Metaview is the role that we are referencing. Interestingly here, this is where I would also add in some context on your company. So I'm adding in to the AI to understand, like, what is some value props that's really going to drive attention for this role. So if they're at a large company, focus on ownership and pace, but that might be different in your world. So really just spend some time investing in these prompts. Again, I could add in a light ask, so a final line, but here I actually wanted to keep this pretty simple. So I'm just going to add in now static text so we can embed prompting and stale text. Would love to tell you more. This is where my typos really come to play. Keen for a 15-minute chat this week. Simple as that. I want to finish with my name, and then we're good to go. So now I have my first email ready to go. If I wanted to preview what this would look like, I can come across the preview tab. This isn't going to be perfect for me right now because I don't actually have any candidates in this sequence. But if you went the other way and started with candidates within your sequence and then built this, you'll get a little bit more reliable previews here. But you can see it makes it really easy to see what's actually going to be generated by each of these prompts. So now we have our email. Again, like we saw, that LinkedIn connection step also comes side by side. So now I'm going to add an additional step, and I'm going to add this as a LinkedIn connection request. I want to have this immediately at the same time as well. So as my email sends, I also want to be prompted by Metaview to send an email. I can prompt here and create a connection message. I can add some prompting here to help. I'm going to leave this blank for now, but of course you can personalize this yourself. This is where my cold really starts to come to play. Great. So we have our first steps. Now I'm going to add that second step. I want to add this as a LinkedIn message, and I want this to go maybe 3 days after our first message was sent. I can fill in any of these pieces, or I can just get Metaview to help me build the content. So in the same way that we did the first step, I'm going to come in, hey, candidate name, and now I'm going to add in another prompt. which is the follow-up that adds something new. So this is 3.5. This is really where we're coming in with that new piece of value every time. So I'm going to add that straight in. Again, you know what I'm about to say here. Take a look over this prompt and make sure it sounds like you, not like me. But here I'm essentially saying, write 2 to 3 sentences follow up from the previous message. Don't repeat, summarize, or reference my last email. Introduce a new piece of value based on this candidate. From here, I could add in a light ask if I wanted. I could keep this as is. I'm now going to use our light ask prompt, which essentially is going to say, based on whatever we've formulated in the above, now make a light ask that makes sense. Really simple. Sign that off with my name, and now I have my next step. Now the next piece is, because this prompt specifically says, don't repeat anything from the previous email and add in a new piece of value every time, I can actually take this prompt and I can repurpose this for my follow-up steps. So now I want to add in a new step. We're going to head back to email as our channel now. And I want to have this in the same thread as the first. So now it's going to just go in a continuous thread. I can have this in a new thread if I wanted by just adding a new thread, but I want to keep all of my replies consistent. I'm still sending on behalf of the hiring manager here, but again, I can change this and send it on behalf of myself if I wanted. I'm going to take that email that we just wrote prior. I'm going to add in those same prompts. Again, I can touch this up and change this around, but I'm going to keep this as is for now. I also want this to go 3 days prior. So I'm keeping those 3-day business days apart with each outreach. Now we're going to head back to LinkedIn. I want to do a LinkedIn message again. You know the drill from here. We're going to add in the same prompt. And now I'm going to do my final closeout, which is a really simple and human way of closing out this opportunity. If we get to step 6 and the candidate still hasn't replied, how can I tactfully close this opportunity out whilst keeping that relationship open? So I'm going to add a new step. We're going to head back to email. I want this one to go out 3 days prior to after the previous step. And as I head across to my prompt library, 3.6 is our breakup email. I'm going to take this prompt, again, add in the candidate's details. And now I'm asking Metaview to write a short, warm final email, 2 to 3 sentences, acknowledge that they're probably busy or maybe the timing is wrong. Don't guilt trip, just reference their current role and leave the door open for future interactions. This one has 0 pressure, 0 ask. We're just tactfully closing off the opportunity. So it's as simple as that. Now we have a really thought out 6-step sequence using some really quality prompts that, of course, we're all going to snip and make them our own. And then from here, now I'm going to save my sequence and I want to start to enroll some candidates. Once this is saved, I head across to the candidate tab. And this is where now sequences really partners with sourcing. So I've already run a candidate search in the background. I have my shortlist of candidates that I like. So I'm going to add candidates to this sequence. For my Metaview engagement managers, I can review each of these candidates and bring them in. I've already shortlisted them, so I'm going to bring all of them in. Metaview's asking me for some final pieces. Do we want to send it now? I've got that final piece that I can keep touching up. But now I'm going to ship my sequence and we're going to start enrolling these candidates. From here, this is where we can now start to manage how our sequence is actually performing. I have set up some settings in the background that delay all of my messages from going out straight away. And you can do that as well if you head into your Metaview settings. I'm going to head down to my sequences, manage my inbox. And so if you haven't done this step already, this is also how you add your mailbox. We can also connect with WhatsApp as well. But here's where I can start setting up those permissions of how many emails I want to go per day, what days do I want to send these emails, and then here's, of course, where I can send permissions on behalf of. So all of that within your settings. But like I said, that's going to take you to a page like this, where we can start to see step 1 through to step 6, how things are tracking, what's the quality of the messages going out, are candidates replying, are they opening it, and we can really start to track our sequences intentionally through data. Has everyone built their sequence alongside? I see there's a couple of messages coming in from the chat. Nice. There is one, and I'm sure the team are answering this live, but it's probably worth saying out loud. There's a question around LinkedIn connection requests and are these manual or automated? It is a good question. So for LinkedIn, there is that manual step required. So what Metaview will do is it will prompt you. And so the benefit here is you can kind of use your LinkedIn sequencing steps as almost like a project management for your LinkedIn through Metaview. So what it will do is it will send you an email, or if you have Slack integrated, it'll also send you a Slack note to say, hey, Elise, a reminder, step 2 LinkedIn connection is ready to be shipped. Time to do your step 2. And then as I head across to LinkedIn, I can download the Metaview Chrome extension, which means all of those prompts and messages that I've pre-prompted within my steps will pop up as I head to that candidates page within LinkedIn. So the LinkedIn steps still live within LinkedIn, but you can use your Metaview Chrome extension to help you just automate and populate those with ease. All of your other steps, so SMS, WhatsApp, and email, can be automated, or they can also be a manual step as well if you still want that extra level of control. Great. Let me head back to my slides now. Actually, I'm going to do a shameless call out to our product marketing manager, James, in the background, if you wouldn't mind sharing our final step. And then I can see that the team are also putting in the Metaview Chrome extension link as well. Thanks, team, for handling that one. Nice. So let's do a quick recap of what we've covered. Before anything sends, let's ask ourselves one question. Would a good candidate, or a great candidate even, actually reply to this? And now we know the recipe that makes that answer yes. Outreach is essentially sales. So again, let's borrow the disciplines, but make it our own for recruiting. Let's run that reply method across every message that we send. We're going to start meeting talent where they're actually going to reply and start to get creative in the channels that we're outreaching them to. And of course, my most passionate one, we're going to personalize our prompts. So AI can really help us personalize the message. So here's your homework. Now that you have the recipe, we're going to now start to ship sequences. So everyone can use Metaview sequences and Metaview sourcing on a free tier. So what I would say is jump in and really give it a go if you haven't already. Or if you're already a power user and know exactly what you're doing, now you have these great steps to elevate your experience. But sign into Metaview, run your candidate searches to find you great candidates, and then now we can build really intentional outreach to help them respond. I can see links are going in the chat. Of course, if you want a more tailored demo or you want more support, book a demo through our website and myself or someone from the team will be able to run this through live and make this tailored to your world. And keep an eye out for part 2 of our July sourcing series. We are hosting our part 2 next Wednesday, which is all around talent mapping. So this is really deeply understanding your talent market. We're going to be joined by Lorenzo, who is our own technical recruiter here at Metaview, who's going to show you his secrets on how he really maps his talent before he starts searching. So that is everything from me. Thanks everyone for joining. We'll be sharing this recording along with those cheat sheets and prompt libraries in the next day. And excited to see you all get those reply rates up.